Okay, so Mary Moon of Love and Loss. The sun was barely up, but Mary Moon was already wrapped in a shawl of embroidered moons and antlers, sipping nettle tea from a chipped mug that read, "Blessed be." Her cottage, tucked at the edge of a sleepy Sussex village, looked like something from a fairy tale. A mossy thatched roof, twisted wisteria round the door, and rows of drying herbs hanging like theatre curtains in every room. Mary was a healer, a Reiki practitioner, a white witch, a crystal devotee, a seer, and occasionally, though she'd never admit it, a bit of a scatterbrain. She wore bangles every time,
Every time.
Every time. She wore bangles that chimed when she walked, layers of silver and amber around her neck, and had eyes the colour of wet slate. Her dark hair was always slightly tangled, as though the wind fancied it as a pet. Welcome in, Rainey. No one's seen. I'm not doing things, doing stories. She was alone, but never truly lonely. Not with Margaret around. Bloody hell, you boiled that mugwort too long again, came a voice from the corner. Mary looked up and smiled, floating lazily near the bookshelf, half faded in the morning light, was Margaret, her spirit guide. Once a 1940s London cabaret singer, now a celestial wisecracker with a soft spot for silk scarves and red lipstick. Margaret had been with her since her first circle casting at 16. But today, Margaret wasn't her usual cheeky self, her aura dimmer than usual. Mary frowned, setting her mug down. "You look like someone's put salt in your gin." Margaret didn't smile. "I've lost it, love. The spark. The connection. The whole bloody point." Mary blinked. "You mean your link to the spirit realm?" Margaret nodded. "I'm a guide who's gone spiritually blind, like a sat-nav stuck on the M25, circling round and round endlessly." They spent the morning walking the fields behind Mary's cottage, past hawthorn hedges and stone circles only the old folk remembered. Margaret drifted silent beside her, unusually quiet, like a radio stuck between frequencies. "You know," Mary said thoughtfully, picking wild chamomile, "sometimes when I lose my way, I ground myself, bit of drumming, bit of hedge sitting, or I do that bonfire ritual Gran taught me." Margaret didn't reply. Later, in the garden, where foxgloves danced in the breeze and bees murmured gossip, Mary set up her circle. 4 quartz points at the compass directions, a piece of selenite in the centre. She lit a beeswax candle and rang her brass bell thrice. I've got a bell as well, I should have brought it down. She called upon Bridget, upon the old ones, and whispered a blessing into the wind. "Spirit be ready, spirit be clear, let truth and light draw ever near. Guide of mine with soul aglow, find your spark and let it show." Nothing happened. And then something did. A cry, low and sorrowful. It echoed from the direction of Wych Elm Copse, a place thick with folk tales and strange silences. The villagers said a ghost lived there, the spirit of a green lady who'd lost her child to the plague. Some said she cursed unfaithful men Others swore she blessed the Baron. She turned to Margaret, whose eyes, if spirit's eyes could do such a thing, had widened it. "You hear it?" Mary asked. Margaret nodded slowly. That's her. The one I used to sing to, back when I was breathing." Under the dark arms of the wych elms, the air was damp with memory. Mary could see the faint shimmer of another spirit, a woman in green, face twisted in endless sorrow. Margaret floated closer, her outline flickering. She came to the club. 1942, sat in the back, alone, never spoke. But I sang for her every week until one day she didn't come back. Mary laid a hand on the earth. It pulsed beneath her fingers like a slow, aching heartbeat. She didn't want songs, Margaret. She wanted peace. With shaking hands, Mary pulled a pouch from her belt and scattered mugwort, lavender and salt in a circle around them. She lit a charcoal disc and dropped in a pinch of frankincense. "Margaret, you need to forgive yourself." Margaret stared at her. "Forgive myself for what?" "For forgetting her, for moving on, for letting her voice fade into the hum of the living." Margaret's lip trembled. I didn't mean to." "I know." A soft wind blew. The Green Lady's cry softened into a lullaby, one that Margaret began to sing. Her voice, spectral and sweet, filled the copse, and then the spirit smiled and vanished. Frankincense, of course. Later that night, back in the cottage, Margaret glowed a little brighter. "You're good at this, Mary Moon," she said, grinning. Mary shrugged, stirring a pot of rosehip jam. "We are who we are. No sense trying to defy our true nature. You ever think maybe you need someone to look after you once in a while?" "Some burdens, Margaret, it's not fair to share," was the melancholy answer. She turned instead to the window, watching the moon rise over the fields. "I've got the moon. I've got the wind. I've got you, Margaret." Margaret snorted. "Still, wouldn't kill you to let that nice druid fella from Lewis buy you a pint of scrumpy. Know what I mean?" Mary chuckled quietly. "Maybe next Beltane." So that's Mary Moon of Love and Loss. And by the way,